I'm giving you guys an above average skystriker Orcust deck profile. For a lot of you guys that don't know, Orcust is the deck that got me from, it took me from becoming a local player to becoming a competitive player. It's the deck that allowed me to get several regional tops and really kind of make that breakthrough into the competitive scene for me. So even after Harp got banned, I was playing Orcust for a very long time, and it's one of my personal favorite decks. So now that we got Gursu and Harp Horror in one deck, I decided to make my above average version of the deck. And if you you'll see that I played a little differently than most people. So I'll go through the deck and I'll give you my reasonings for the cards I play. So we start off with 3 Gursu, absolutely amazing. You know, the fact that it's a 1-card combo, it's a normal summon, right, which we didn't have before. Before we played like scrap cards, we played, you know, you played Armageddon Knight, maybe you played Mathematician, but now the fact that this is an Orcust name is huge, right? You could normal summon it, get negated, and then you could use it as a body to go into your Galatea, which, you know, you couldn't do before. So absolutely amazing. The fact that it's an extra name, Orcust name in the deck is huge, and you know, Harp Horror being able to summon this card gives you so many pushes. It's actually really, really powerful. So I like how this card is good going first and good going second. Going second, you could actually make it a tuner, and I have a different list that actually really uses that effect. But yeah, absolutely amazing. You know, it's your 3 of normal summon, solid card. Then you have your 3 Harp Horror. You know, it could be a 1-card combo if you well, kind of a 2-card combo if you have another body on the board and you normal summon it. So 3 Harp Horror, 2 Nightmare, 2 Skeleton, and the 1 Semi-Brick, the World 1, which you kind of have to play. I think this is the sweet spot. This is a solid ratio. You're not playing too many, you're not playing too little. It's just a very good all-around ratio. And with the honorary Orcust card, Gizmic Orochi, you know, even if you banish 8, you know, by playing 2 Skeleton, 2 Nightmare, you're gonna have them in the deck. World Wand is actually a card that I cut for a while and I wasn't playing, but I think now that you have good consistency with 3 Harp Horror, it's okay to play the wand. But absolutely mandatory to play this card, in my opinion. Probably my favorite card in the deck, my favorite monster in the deck. It gives you an alternative win condition through the extra deck, as well as it helps you push for game out of the blue, right? You could with Babble Up, you could use Nightmare in the damage step to boost one of your monsters by 800 attack, and then you have Orochi in the battle phase to attack again. So that's kind of crazy, and you can steal games with this card. This card literally helps you win games you have no business winning, so I really like that. Moving forward, we have the 1 Dark Refer. I know a lot of people like playing Rhoda and Armageddon Knight and Dark Refer, and I understand the reason, but I really didn't want to play Armageddon Knight. Now that we have Gursu, you have a 3 of normal summon, right? And it's a name. So I think the fact that you're going to play Rhoda and Armageddon, I think it just becomes too many monsters in the deck, and you could kind of like hone in your hands. And I want to really get a mixture of utility cards, spell cards, and engine cards, right? So I think the Armageddon Knight and the Rhoda was a little too much. I think Dark Refer is the best one, right? If we have more Dark Refers, I think I'd play more Dark Refers. The fact that this card could be a starter as well as an extender is really powerful. So I think it's just a very good, solid 1 of. And I don't think you need to include Rhoda and Armageddon Knight. Usually people that do play those cards, they always end up siding them out all the time, right? So Dark Refer is the broken one, and it's the one that you don't care about seeing going first, going second in the mid to late game. So really powerful card. Moving forward, I still play 3 Ash. I know a lot of people cut hand traps, and the reasoning is, you know, they want to play more spell cards for engage, and I kind of understand, but, you know, this is a mid-range control deck, right? So I think having that Ash in the hand could literally seal the deal. You're ending on 1 to 2 disruptions, and you having Ash in hand could really get you there. You know, once you get to the follow-up turn, you should have game. So Ash, I know I'm explaining Ash, which is kind of funny, but I think in this deck, even though it's like a Sky Striker deck, 3 Ash is just good, right? Going blind into any deck, Ash is just super safe, and I think deserves its spot in the main deck. And then moving on to spell cards, you know, the part that makes this deck a little broken is the triple engage. You know, good going first, good going second, Can help you draw a card, really powerful. And then for the targets, I play one Widow Anchor, one Hornet Drones, and one Shark Cannon. So as you can see, I played the ones that are good going first as well as good going second, right? Because I'm going blind. You don't know, I don't know if I'm going first or I'm going second. So these cards are always good. They help you put bodies on your board, right? If you have 3 spells engraved, these cards give you bodies. So you could have Harpour, you can open some Harpour, and that could get you there. So I think 3 targets is perfect. I've experimented with another target as well, but it became a little too cloggy, and I think this is just the sweet spot for the main deck. This card, I would never play Orcust without Forbidden Droplets. I consider this card an Orcust card. It works so well, you know, pitching your names. It's good going first, it's good going second. It's good against most decks, most you know, interactions that you go into. It's just really, really powerful, and I think it's one of those cards that you could have in your main deck and you just feel safe, right? You sit down against your opponent, you roll the dice, and you're happy that you have this card in your deck. So yeah, I definitely would play this card in Orcust. It helps you like even get a push out of nowhere, right? Like maybe you're disrupting your opponent but giving yourself the ability to play. So I think Droplets is absolutely mandatory. A card that people, you know, are gonna hate on me for is 3 Dark Hole. Kind of the same theory that I used in my Kashtira first place regional deck profile. You know, I think Dark Hole is one of those cards, like, you know, basically the same thing as Kashtira, right? It could be bad going first, right? It's a 3 of that you could possibly see if you win the dice roll and you pick to go first, sure. But then you're gonna have to like brick, right? I mean, it could be a card that lets you brick, but if you don't end up using this card, turn 0, right? On the crackback, you know, you're starting your turn with Dark Hole. That's a little strong, but you could play Raigeki instead. But Dark Hole, sometimes you have materials under your ding that you don't want to link off ding, right? You want to keep it on the board. So Dark Hole lets you detach and protect your cards and then get that material in the grave. So this could be Raigeki, but again, keep in mind, you're going first 50% of the time, maybe a little more, right? Depending on if you're playing against Empire, right? But going second, you're drawing the 6th card and you have a lot of draw power. So you could see this card a good amount of the time going second, and it could really literally be, it's a bomb card, right? All these cards you're going to see, the utility cards in this deck could be are really bold, and they could be game winning cards. So next is 3 Upstart Goblin. You know, the fact that we're playing Engage and really powerful cards like Droplets, Dark Hole. Upstart could help us see those cards as well as getting more spells in our grave. So this is a very solid card in the main deck. Back to 3. And post sighting, these could be easy 3 side out cards. So I think that's really powerful. Then some more broken spell cards. Obviously the 1 Foolish Burial, it's a starter as well as an extender. Really powerful card. For Orcust, 1 Babel and Double Return. I've noticed people playing 3, and I kind of get it, right? But I really don't want to clog my hand with multiple returns, and I think 2 is just the sweet spot, right? You're not going to see it together that often, and you're going to have one for your turn and then possibly in the mid to late game. So I think 2 is just perfect, and you have a decent chance of seeing it, right? You also have other cards that let you draw cards in your deck, so I think 2 is just the perfect number of orchestrated returns. Then my favorite part of the deck, 3 Skill Drain. So this alone is an alternative win condition. The fact that once you go into Galatea, you get into the Ding, which is a 2600 beat stick. That's really powerful, but as well as just being, you know, blanket good in general, I'm going to show you in the extra deck a certain card that makes this card a little crazy, especially in Orcust. So keep this card in mind. And one other card I play is 1 Gozen Match. I always play Floodgates in my Orcust deck, and any control deck I play. Like I said, you need to have alternative win conditions. You can't afford to play a deck like this where it's clearly not the best deck, right? And then try to just throw in hand traps or just some spell cards and try to, you know, beat the best decks in the room. You're gonna have to have stuff that's a little unfair. You're gonna have to give yourself the edge in certain departments. So I think having these alternative win conditions could literally get you there. And even before, when I used to play Orcust a long time ago, I would play 3 Gozen, 3 Torrential, or like 3 Gozen, 3 Rivalry, and that could get you there. What I really love about these cards is that they're good going first, obviously, right? But they're also really powerful going second. Going into established boards, you could set these cards and that could literally get you there. And yeah, I just absolutely, I would definitely not cut these cards. They're really, really powerful. And the last purple card is the one Kogari, one Hayate, and one Azalea. This is the card that ties everything in, to be honest. Something that we never had before. Now, with two bodies, you could have two cards. Doesn't matter what they are. Two monsters, you could just slap them together. Pop a card, maybe. If you use Druid Worm, maybe you'll send a card, right? And then you could just go, link this off into Hayate, attack direct, dump engage, and then go Kagari, add back engage. So with not opening any Skystriker cards, you can get to engage. In my opinion, I think that's a little crazy. And, you know, you're not using just random cards. You're either, you know, using a Druid Worm, maybe you're using Dingursu, maybe you're using something, you know. The only thing is you have to make sure you don't use any Orcust effects, right? Because then you won't be able to link climb into these cards. But I just think that's so powerful. Going second, the fact that you would have access to just engage without even drawing it, I think that's a little crazy. Moving forward, we have one IP and one SP. You always go into these cards on your end board, so that's pretty cool. Triple Galatea, I have it somewhere. Triple Galatea and one Longursu. I would never play this deck without Triple Galatea. This comes up every single game. I don't know how people play 2. I think I go into 3 literally every single game. And Longursu, the fact that it's a link 3, the fact that it has 2500 attack, you know, ending on this simple end board could get you there most of the time. It's actually pretty solid. Your card is protected. Your cards are protected by card effects, can't be destroyed by battle, so that could come up. Again, the fact that it's a link 3 and you can keep reborning it with skeleton, a little powerful, a little too crazy. Zoroboros, alternative win condition, keep that in mind. It's a bomb card in the extra deck. Then we have the one Typhon, and then we have double ding. I think 2 is absolutely mandatory. If I could fit a third, I'd probably play a third, but 1 is way too little. 2 is the perfect number. And now the real trick is the pain gainer and 7 sins. So every time you go into Galatea, right, which is of course like just any Orcust monster, another monster, you can go ding, attach another material, and then go into pain gainer on top of it. You could leave this like this if you're in a time scenario, and you could burn your opponent every time they use a spell card. But going second, you know, you could use the effect to pop some of your opponent's cards, and then you could rank up into 7 sins. So every time you go into ding, you have access to these cards, which is a little crazy in my opinion. The fact that there are darks help a lot. And then, like I said, pretend you have skill drain. So anytime you have access to Galatea, you have access to 7 sins, which is a 4000 beat stick if you have skill drain set. So after you summon 7 sins, you can set skill drain, and you know you're gonna have the biggest monster. Your opponent's not gonna main deck a monster that has more than 4000 attack. It's a little hard for them to do that, right? So this is an alternative win condition in the extra deck, right? This is technically this is like 2 to 3 alternative win conditions in your extra deck, but it really makes skill drain shine and give you that edge that you need to beat those decks that are, I would say, you know, a little better than Orcust, or doing a little better than Orcust. So I think that's really neat, and it comes up again almost every single game. 7 sins just being a bomb by itself is pretty crazy. Now going to the side deck really quick, the Bestials, I actually would consider playing more Bestials. I think Druid Swarm is one of the craziest cards you can play in the side deck. If it's really good in the matchup, you know, using Druid Swarm, getting rid of DD Crowing a card, right, and then normal summoning Harpor or Gursu, it becomes like 3 pushes with 2 cards. It's a little crazy. You get to send a card, you know, you get to go into your Orcust cards, you get to go into Ding, you get to go into all these effects. It's a little crazy, and you know, you DD Crowed a card, right? So I would actually play more Bestials, but for now I'm just playing these. Then we have 2 Twin Twisters. I think the fact that you pitch a card, it can help you, you know, get rid of some of the Orcust cards in your hand. So sure, you can play Cosmics or you can play Duster, but I think Twin Twister is the card that not only does it help deal with threats, it could also allow you to play the game. So I think these are a little better than playing those other cards. Then we have 2 Mistaken Arrest. Absolutely love this card in this deck. It's a floodgate that doesn't just stop you from searching, which is fine, right? It could shut off engage maybe, but you could still draw. I think that's broken, right? And you don't search that much. You either set from your deck or you draw. So this is absolutely crazy. It could be game winning against most decks, and every time you go first, you kind of put these cards in. Then we have probably one of the most broken cards in the side deck. I could just put them all together to talk about them. Now these cards, you could probably play more. I just didn't want to play too many going second cards in my side deck, but you know, like I said, putting an extra monster on your board makes your pushes like way more broken than what they normally are, because you know you're dealing with a threat. Maybe you're taking your opponent's Appaloosa or something, and then you're using your Gursu or your Harpor, and then you're going into Galatea. You're getting into an extra push, and then you still have that Orcust in the grave giving you another push. So these cards are really, really good in this type of deck, in Orcust specifically. And then when I know I'm going second, having this card in my deck is just another name. Maybe you could pop a back row card. Really flexible card. So I think it's really, really nice to know that I can have this card in my deck when I know I'm going second. And then Thrust, just to increase the consistency of seeing Engage, seeing those broken one-of spell cards, Foolish Burial. So this could be a starter, an extender, a utility card. It could be anything I want it to be. So I thought that was really powerful. Then of course, more alternative win conditions. One mistake. You can play a third Mistake and Arrest. I just really like this card that just sticks on the board. But you could probably play Mistake and Arrest. Rivalry, absolutely insane. Just like I said with Gozen, these cards are actually even good going second, right? So you imagine having Rivalry and Gozen. You could even put those cards going second, and you could break a whole board. If the matchup calls for it, you could just throw in Rivalry. The only problem is you just can't go into certain cards in your extra deck, right? Like the IPs, the SPs, and stuff. But you could still just play Orcust, and then if Rivalry is good against the matchup, it could be a auto win button, right? And then we have the one D barrier you could set off of Thrust. Playing one just ensures the fact that you're never going to see two of a hard OPT card. So I think that's fine. You're drawing a lot of cards, and you're playing so many other alternative win conditions. I think this just gives you the perfect amount of going first cards, especially with the other cards I mentioned before, to cover most decks in the format. Then one last card, and this is something that I swear by. A lot of people wouldn't agree, and I know this, but this is something that, this is a side decking rule that I made in this deck that has for sure contributed to the fact that I got second place at a regional, fifth place at a regional, multiple local wins, citing the second crescendo. I think this is so key. This is so important and so hidden. Like, a lot of people don't know about this and don't think about it, but this is probably one of the most OP in archetype trap cards, right? The fact that it's a hard negate and follow-up is a little crazy to me, right? So keep in mind, post-sighting, your opponent is sighting into more hand traps, maybe board breakers, right? Therefore, they're diluting their deck. They're making their deck have less pushes. So you ending, or like hard drawing this, you're allowing yourself to play through hand traps more. And if they do open up that board breaker, you're gonna have the crescendo. So you could end on Babel crescendo more often if you put in a second crescendo. And then if you're playing against a slower deck, let's say a Flundereeze or a Stun deck, you would want to have this in your deck, right? You're going to want to have two of these in your deck. You want to set crescendo, use crescendo on their turn, then on their turn, set another crescendo. That's where you're going to have a hard negate during your turn. And that, I promise you, just try it out. It comes up all the time. If I'm going against a crazy combo deck, even that's good, right? I would want to have a crescendo because I know they're going to have 18 hand traps in their deck. So let them droll me, let them ash me, let them do whatever they want. As long as I end on Galatea with, let's say an ash in hand or 1 to 2 disruptions, I know that could get me there. I know my opponent wasted 3 cards and they're going to have 1 push, maybe 2, and I'll have the answer for that. Then crescendo is going to be full blown combo on my following turn. I just get Gursu and I win the game. So this is a very important side decking rule that I think you guys should try out, and you'll see for yourself that it comes up literally every single time you do it. So hope you guys like my Skystriker Orcust deck profile. This is, again, one of my favorite decks. I really recommend just trying out the version that I play, and you'll see that even though you don't have that many hand traps or you don't have that like crazy drop power with 3 Allure, 3 whatever, you're gonna have cards for every type of deck you could possibly play against. You're gonna have answers to everything. You're gonna play every single game, and you're gonna have a good time. I think this deck has the ability to do very, very well. It just has to have these alternative win conditions. It has to do something that's not fair, right? The deck seems a little too fair. So I think combining, the dark holes, combining the fact that you're playing engage with droplets, and you're having these alternative win conditions in your main deck, and increased consistency to see them because of all the draw power, it lets the deck have that little unfairness to it that could get you there. If you don't do that and you just decide to play like maybe 3 Book of Moon, right, or like 3 Veiler and stuff like that, in my opinion, that's a little too fair. And once you go up against those decks that are quote unquote the best decks, they do what you do, just a little differently, but much better, right? So